and it's worth really looking at that in detail. I won't do it now because we don't have time, but you can all go and do it at home, and you can look at this analysis and you can look at the strengths and weaknesses of this analysis. I did all this when I was preparing for today's session, so I can go through the sort of highlights quickly. This analysis places as an 80-day trough here in June, okay, which is interesting. But this is very dubious. Let me zoom in. This is a very dubious positioning of the 40-day trough over there, and here the 10-day trough over here. So in my opinion, this analysis falls apart quite badly. I see another question, and I'm going to come to it in a moment. Let me just finish this train of thought. So here the analysis is falling apart quite badly. Okay, so my natural instinct would be to reject this analysis out of hand. But let's pursue this train of thought, if you like, and get Sentient Trader, because it seems to be having problems with analyzing this period over here. Let me just explain to you why I'm doing this. What's the reasoning behind this? Let me zoom in here. Okay, when you have a look at an analysis, you can see very quickly, usually, things that are good and things that are bad in an analysis. And I had to really refine the analysis period to get this. But here are reasons why I think this analysis is bad. Troughs have been positioned where there aren't really very good or prominent troughs in the price. Okay, I hope that you're seeing this. That one's not too bad. It's a straddle trough. But basically, these troughs have been poorly positioned. I can keep going through lots of them. That's how you know that an analysis is bad. So what we do is we, the Sentient Trader, is having difficulty resolving the analysis around about this time. Now, that's a crucial problem because we're trading around about this time, okay? So we want to help it to try to resolve the analysis. So we have to explore different options. So I'm going to do this one more time, and let me change the analysis period to 4680. And Sentient Trader will quickly reanalyze, and we won't look in too much detail, but for those of you who have been following our trader chats and following ST outlooks and all that kind of thing, I think you will instantly recognize this analysis, and it is the analysis that I believe is still appropriate in the American markets, which is a 20-week trough over here in June, and then an 80-day trough here in October. And so you can see this analysis of the emerging market now matches perfectly our analysis, or my preferred analysis of American markets. So what have I done? Have I tricked Sentient Trader into replicating my favored analysis? No, I haven't tricked it. But what I've helped it to do is I've helped it to perform an analysis and which resolves some of the rather tricky cycle things that have been happening over here. As you can see, very different length cycles over there, and I think that by working the analysis that Sentient Trader is doing on the emerging markets, it helps to highlight what's happening in the American markets. Okay, so that concludes what I wanted to say about emerging markets and how it can help to shed some light on what's happening on other markets around the world. I'd be very happy to answer any questions, and let me first of all answer John C's question, a very basic question. I'm just getting used to the trial based on what you've just done. When you're not confident of an analysis, what do you do? Override the analysis or wait for FT to catch up and adjust itself? John, no. When you're not confident in an analysis, you must definitely not just sit back and wait for Sentient Trader to catch up. Okay, what you need to do is you need to look at the analysis and say, what is it that that you feel doesn't work about it. Okay, and the easiest and simplest thing to do is to adjust your analysis start period. Okay, the analysis start period is a really simple thing you can do. I've just done it several times on this chart. So you should adjust your analysis start period and have Sentient Trader re-perform the analysis, and then get it to a point where you think the analysis is just right. It's really important to remember. Sentient Trader is a tool. One of the it's one of the sort of ironies, if you like, of Sentient Trader is that Sentient Trader does so much that there's a tendency, and I find myself doing it. There's a tendency, because Sentient Trader just does it. You just let it run in automatic, and then you switch off your brain, and you don't, and you stop thinking about things yourself. And one really shouldn't do that with Sentient Trader. It's very important to remember that it's a tool. I'm very proud of the analysis it performs, and I do believe you can always get Sentient Trader to perform a good analysis, and then work from that space. See, you're saying, and just work off your most recent then. Yes, you see, I think by most recent you mean the most recent analysis. Okay, the thing here are some rules of thumb. Okay, the first thing you should do is always try and perform an analysis over as much data as you possibly can. Okay, so let me change this analysis period and set this to bar 1. Which is the full thing. Okay, so the first thing you do is you perform an analysis over the full data, that you have, because the more data you've got, obviously, the better the analysis, to some extent. However, then you need to look at that analysis and you need to say, is it right? Isn't it right? And then what you need to do is you need to adjust your analysis start period using as much data as you possibly can. Until you get a better analysis. Okay. In this particular example, I had to go all the way forward to about an 18-month period. Now, I wouldn't use that 18-month analysis to actually be trading it, but I would then build an expert model and use that analysis, which I can then apply so that I'm performing a much longer analysis, but with an expert model. But to get a feeling for the market and the analysis that's happening, that's what you need to do. Once you've got an analysis period that works, and you update your data every day, Sentient Trader will update the analysis, and the analysis will remain good for a very long time, generally for a very long time. We have intraday workspaces. I hope you've had a chance to have a look at the live analysis system. We have an intraday workspace that trades the 1 hour cycle, and it's working. It's working off 1 minute bars. Okay, so I don't sit here in the office adjusting the analysis period for that analysis, every 20 minutes. You don't need to do that. I take a look at the analyses. To be honest, perhaps once every 3 weeks, and if I think the analysis is still looking good, then it just keeps going. If I think the analysis needs a bit of tweaking, I might tweak one of the longer term charts. The shorter term charts inherit from the longer term charts, so they take care of all of that. Okay, so I hope that answers the question. All right. Great. And John says that's a good analysis on the Sensex. Okay, good. Yes. I think that final analysis that I showed in the Sensex is finally the analysis that really works. Just to sort of go back to John C's question, here I've got an analysis which when I looked at it, I didn't really like it, so I changed. So then you would change the start period to perhaps 1780. I'll go 1780 and reanalyze it. I missed a question from Jose. I used to take a look also at the average wavelength of the analysis in order to have a very quick idea if the analysis is okay or not, taking into account bear mode, long cycles, or bull mode, shorter cycles. Does it sound okay for quickly? Yes, Jose, I think that is a very, very valid thing to do, to have a look at where the cycles are currently running currently running short or running long, and use that as a good way of telling whether the analysis that Sentient Trader is performing is good or not. But I think ultimately, at the end of the day, the best way of determining whether Sentient Trader's analysis is good or not is to look at it and to use your own ideas about it. Of course, you can also use the tools show phasing information, and you can have a look at the analysis rating, and you can compare the analysis rating and see how good the analysis rating is, to see whether an analysis is good. But I actually think that's a really good idea, to see whether you think that cycles are running the way they should be according to the fact that the underlying trend that you're expecting. I think that sounds a really good idea. Okay, I don't know if I answered the question. I just sort of spoke a lot of nonsense for a while and then stopped. I don't know whether I answered that question at all. Any other questions that anybody has? I hope you found it interesting taking a look at some emerging markets. What's the meaning of DLY written sometimes on the trading chart? Luca, that's an action signal which is delayed. If you don't understand action signals, if you're not sure what an action signal is, then you must go to our user manual, our online user manual, and let me see, action signals. You can read all about it here. Let me pop this link into our chat window. This is in the user manual, all about the action signals. So take a look at that, and you'll see there somewhere it says that if it is a delayed action signal, then that will be plotted on the chart with a DLY in brackets afterwards. Okay, that's the DLY on the trading chart. It's a delayed action signal. What is the symbol for the Sensex, William? Okay, that's a really interesting question. Where did I get this data from? I didn't get this data from NinjaTrader because I couldn't find it. So I tell you what I did do is I went to Yahoo Finance, the source of so much knowledge. In fact, here, if I just type it in here, I'm sure this thing will give it to me. Here we go. Yahoo Finance. There's the symbol. In fact, the data I used today, I downloaded from Yahoo Finance, just to have a look. Okay, thanks, John. And thank you to everybody else. I do hope you found it interesting. And let's see how the emerging markets play out in sync with the American markets. The emerging markets have been frighteningly in sync with the American market. The last thing I wanted to say, I meant to say it, is that when emerging markets and the US markets get very, very in sync, and every single market is moving together, I think that's a very dangerous sign, and I think that a tremendous volatility can follow. I don't want to be a prophet of doom, but I do think it's a very dangerous sign. You know that cardiologists use as a sign for impending heart attacks, apparently they use the fact that, and I got this from